Hello and welcome to the Cancer Journey podcast. I'm Alicia.
I'm Sherry Ann.
And I'm Judy ViaCava.
So Judy is one of our certified coaches, and today she's joining us, and we're going to be talking about who am I now? Who am I now after cancer, after this whole experience, which is a huge question to talk about. But before we jump into that, we're going to get grounded all together and do our individual PESH check-ins. So I'll go first today. So physically, I am a 4.35, emotionally a 4.4, spirit is a 4.25, and hope is a 4.4, 4.45, and my word is hopeful.
Oh, okay. Physically, I am a 4.4. Okay. Emotionally, 4.35. Spirit, 4.6. Hope, 4.5. And my word is juggling.
Let's see. Physically, I am a 4.2, 4.8. Spiritually, I'm going to give myself a 5 on that one. And my hope is, 4.8. And my word today would be curious.
Always a good place to start from. So today we're going to be talking about, again, who am I now? It's a big question. We mean it as a question as a lot of people who are going through their cancer journeys, they're thinking like, who am I now? You know, there's obviously the before cancer you that a lot of people kind of feel stuck on going into a cancer journey. And then inevitably, just bits of you change. Sometimes physically, definitely mentally, emotionally, often spiritually. A lot changes in here. And sometimes we don't even define or articulate what that change is, but we know that there's change. And for us at the Cancer Journey Institute, when we do our coaching, we want to check in with people to make sure that they do have that clarity on what they're moving into, what they've moved away from, and even helping them find peace in this new space that they're in, because sometimes they just feel broken and they're not. They're still whole.
Yeah, I really like what you said. One of the things I hear a lot when someone's going through their cancer journey is, I just want to go back to how it was. I just want to be who I was before. And it's like, well, first off, impossible. We can't change the past, and we're not stagnant beings. We're always evolving and changing. It just happens that a cancer journey, one that is thrust upon us and not one that we choose, is very transformational. I mean, we can't help but change, because it's kind of something that takes us whole and moves us.
Right. And the word normal comes up all the time. I just want to feel normal again. But what is that? What's normal? It's not, you don't go back to where you were, because there are so many changes that take place that people, when they're first diagnosed, don't even think that they will ever get back to what was. And they don't. For me personally, I got back to a place that was still me, but a better version of me, because I felt like now I'm living my life according to what I want, not the expectations of other people. So that's what I had to let go of.
Yeah, oh my gosh, that's such a great aha to have, right? And I'm sure that that journey for you, it wasn't as easy as like, oh, this is better, right? Like after cancer, it's not immediately like, bling, oh, actually it's better. But cancer so often gives you that message, right? Of like, okay, maybe before you're focused on everyone else and what everyone else was thinking and what they needed and shuffling to serve them. But cancer really puts you at the forefront.
Absolutely. People, and I guess I did this too. It's many years ago at this point. It's been 14 years, but everybody else was the priority. And I felt like if I'm not prioritizing of other people, then I was being selfish. And then when I realized that when I make myself a priority, it's the opposite of being selfish, because now I have the energy to help other people because I feel fulfilled.
That's such a great statement. I'm fulfilled. And that's not something that happens immediately while you're on your cancer journey, right? It's more like, I'm depleted. I'm I'm stripped. I'm not performing anymore. I'm just kind of raw. And from that place, it feels like, "Ooh, who's emerging?" Sometimes it's like I'm so raw that it's like the nerves are right on the surface, right? And somebody says something or touches you and you're like, but there's something about that realness. Not that we should be agitated by everything that's going on, but the realness to have that you come back. I mean, you said it's not like I was different so much as I was me, and like what really matters kind of bubbles to the top.
And it was almost like there was something inside me that was just saying, you need to be doing more for yourself. And it was almost like I couldn't deny it anymore. I couldn't push it down. It was just, I had to do something more. And so when I opened up to, well, what's that going to be? It wasn't like all of a sudden an idea came to my mind. It was like, I know I want to do something that I've never done before. And I want it to be physical and I want it to be outdoors. So I started getting a vision of something, but I didn't know what that was. But I was
Yeah.
open to anything. And when somebody made a suggestion, I was like, that sounds good. Let me try that. So then I started coming out of feeling like I needed to go back to what I was doing because now I'm thinking about what I can do. And that's when my transformation started.
Yeah, I'm so hearing the like perspective shift too, is that like when things came up, it wasn't through the lens of like, okay, who can I help? And like sorting out like how everyone else is doing it, but you're like trying it on, like you're trying on a shirt and you're like, does this fit me? And having that openness to be like, well, we never know till we try, and just embracing it for just to see if that was right
Just to
for
see.
you. Yeah.
The
What comes
doors
to
kept
mind?
opening.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Doors kept opening. Oh,
Right.
tell me more about the doors.
So it was as if um, things were being kind of laid out in front of me, and there's a door that I can peek in. And if it didn't seem interesting, then I didn't go there. But then another door would open. It was like, oh, that one looks interesting. And then I would go into it, and then more doors would open in a direction that I never even looked at before because I was so focused on my children getting to where they needed to go and working in different things. So when I was opening those doors, it's like, I get to do something for me. And it was so fun.
The focus on me is so the word that keeps coming up is vibrant. It's like it's alive. It's here. I want to.
Yeah, right. I get to do these things.
Right. And you were talking about, how am I being? What am I doing? And it's like this really focused attention on yourself, which I remember I didn't have. Again, because I was doing the same thing you were, which is paying attention to everybody else and what do they need. But it's like, what am I eating? How am I moving my body? You were talking about being physical. And what are the things I'm choosing?
Right, right. And it gave me permission to do what I wanted.
That's Sherry Ann's favorite word.
Permission.
Permission.
Right. Because oftentimes it was an expectation that I had to be doing the other things for other people. And there was no space for me because I was so busy with all of that. And I was, even my career before I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I was a massage therapist. But I'd been doing that for a long time. I loved my work, but I was tired of it. And I knew there was even something else I wanted to do. There was more that I didn't even know existed until I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And because of my breast cancer, that's how I found the Cancer Journey Institute, was because of my breast cancer. And it changed my life. I mean, just the training alone changed my life. And yeah, now I'm doing work that I love, fulfilled a purpose in me.
Yeah.
And so,
And
yeah,
doing this work, it like really helps you facilitate and see that change for other people, all of your clients, to
oh,
see
yeah,
them go from that really lost space into one of feeling powerful in their own life and having those choices that they get to make to live a more fulfilled life, because that transition is not easy.
right, right. But it was like a North Star. It was like, I could get through this because now I get to do all these things. And I say to myself all the time, and I say this to clients, is you don't realize this now because you're at the beginning of your journey, but there will be a time where you are going to start to emerge from the other side, as long as you allow yourself and give yourself permission. There's that word again. Give yourself permission to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
I know it's like so much is here. And what I'm going to just talk about my favorite part of cancer journey coaching is helping our clients see themselves in kind of a different light. Different in terms of not that you've changed completely. There is just more of a remembering of who they really are at their core. And then you start seeing it, and they're not saying no so much as they're saying, I get that there's more. I mean, I'm listening to what you're saying, and they do say I didn't envision my life being like this. And then it's like we get a chance to go, okay, so what did you envision? And what is still a desire? And then we get to dig and excavate and help them find like what I really wanted to do, or what the impact I really wanted to have is X.
Right.
And we can help them figure out now what's the pathway to X. Not that we ever tell them. It's like it's the unveiling.
Yeah. It's that
So,
opening
well,
the doors
yeah,
and peeking in.
Yeah. And it helps you explore those like possibilities of what can be. Like what I'm actually like envisioning too is that like as people are beginning their cancer journey and they're coming from a place and they're starting at a place of like I'm not who I was before. I want that back. I want this and that back. Like what we do as cancer journey coaches is we help them find clarity. So they start as almost like dull idea of what they want and how it feels. Like people will say, and this kind of reminds me of our like dream workshop that we just did earlier this year, but it was like, well, yeah, everyone wants money and everyone wants enough money to live a happy life and feel safe. But that's just a really dull explanation of like what you want. Maybe before you had like safety and joy, right? And you're like, I feel like I don't have that safety and joy anymore now that cancer is in my life, either if I'm a patient, thriver, survivor, or caregiver. But when we work with them, we're like, we help them first of all identify that that's what they want is that safety and joy maybe. And then we get clearer and sharpen what that image is. So we know exactly how it looks for them because even though generally, yes, we all want safety and joy, everyone deserves their own version of safety and joy. But the way to achieve that and the things that are going to make someone feel that way are going to be different for each person.
And it also sometimes means letting go. And I think that part is so important because letting go of sometimes even just thoughts and beliefs. What's holding you back? What's stopping you from having that joy? What's stopping you from having the security? Because we've got to like clear some things out to make space for what they do want.
Yes. Yeah.
yes. And the inner critic will come in and say, no, I couldn't possibly, or no, who do I think I am? What we get to do is we get to help them unveil or like recognize the inner critic so that we can just like, okay, that's not the real you. That is the cautious you. That's fine. But we're trying to look at what you really want because you're going through a very challenging time, or you've gone through a challenging time, and now you really want to live this buoyant, vibrant, expansive life. What is it? And you'll say, I don't know, I'm too afraid to look, because what if I can't have it? And yet we need that push, we need that encouragement, we need the motivation to be like, I just went through something horrific. All right, what is it that I really want? I love that part.
I love that part. And the other part that I love as being a coach is I can see it for them. Even if
Mhm.
they can't see it, it's like, I see that you can have all this. Even when they're doubting themselves, it's like we get to hold them in a place where it's like, I see it. I see you emerging. Even though you doubt yourself, I see it. And I love that part of coaching.
Yeah.
And I think once they get to where I am with that vision for them, then it's like, now I see what you mean.
Right.
But their
Because
confidence comes back.
right. Like I love that part of coaching too. It's like that reflection back, right? Because you're not creating the vision that you see for them out of thin air. You're seeing it as they're describing it to you and as you experience them and you're seeing their desires and they'll go, well, I kind of like this, but they almost throw it away because like you said, Sharian, it's like they think they can't have it. But when you're crafting this vision and you're repeating it back to them, they're like, oh, like, how did you get there? It's like, you gave me all the pieces so I can get there. And it's so interesting because, like, I think a lot of times before being in like a coaching setting or being with someone who can really see them, people don't feel that reflection back. Like, who do you have in your everyday who is reflecting back the things that you're saying to really not put them in your face, but to be like, just so you know, you did say that. You said that out loud. You said that with, or you said that with sadness, or you said that in this way. And maybe you didn't even realize that's how you're talking to yourself. So when we reflect back what they're offering and maybe they're just breadcrumbing it along the way, it starts to be like, oh, I guess that is something that I care about or that I want or that I'm curious about. And so we get to help guide them on this path that they've already created for themselves.
Mhm. And sometimes we see it before they see it because we're seeing their body language and we're hearing the tone of their voice. We're going to a deeper place than they even realize. And sometimes it's like, what was that facial expression? What's behind your words? Because we pick up on those little nuances. And so sometimes what their words are saying might be different than what we're actually seeing. And then they'll stop and it's like, wow, I never realized that that's what I was feeling. So that's another fun part of coaching.
Right. Well, half the time I've got to say, I don't really know what I'm saying. When I'm just talking and it's like, what breadcrumbs or nuances am I throwing out there? And yet it's like our life is like a book. And Jane Fonda did kind of a film where she did this chapter, that chapter, and that chapter. And we do go through chapters of our life. And so if you're on a cancer journey, it's the cancer journey chapter. But then what comes after that? Because there is something that comes after that. I know there might be people who think, I don't even know if I'm going to survive this. And that's true. But there is a chapter after that. You may not be able to write it, but you will experience it. And then for those who do survive and make it through this particular challenging chapter, it's like, well, then how do I want to write it? And we need those breadcrumbs and the nuances to let us know this is what's really coming out that I can't even speak to myself about. It's like, I don't know is such a common answer when we ask questions to clients. And it's like, whoa, let's just slow this down because there's something here.
Yeah.
And I think it was you, Alicia, who said um, that we as coaches get to do this with people because who else can they do it with? The person the patient who's going through treatment is protecting their loved ones. So they're not talking about their real deep feelings. And the caregiver isn't talking about how they feel because who are they to have feelings? They're supposed to be focusing on the patient. And so no one's talking. And because of that, there builds a tension between the people who love each other. So that's also where we come in, is to help people just have a place where they can say whatever. The caregiver who says, I'm exhausted and I'm annoyed and I'm frustrated and I'm angry. Who else could you say that to? But they can say it safely to us.
Yes, absolutely. And I feel like what you both just touched on too is this like there is this idea that some of us were raised with, or maybe it's in the environments around that we have to suppress our emotions.
Mhm.
And so we're not tuned into it at all. Like we can't, like you said, we can't tell the patient if we're the caregiver that there's frustration and sometimes the patient can't share that they have fear, you know? And so in this experience, there's so many emotions going on. It's uncharted territory for everyone, because even if you've had multiple cancers or had cancer in your life, every single one of them is going to look a little different. And the experience is always going to be a little bit different, maybe familiar, but different emotions can always come up. So when we come from a place of already suppressing our own emotions, we're just like holding them. And so when your coach lets you start feeling them and recognizing those nuances, the facial expressions, the words that you choose to express whatever emotion is coming up, we are inviting them to be like, okay, I just want you to notice that, like, you said that happy thing with like a grimace on your face. Like, do you really feel that way? And it's inviting them to look at their own emotions and how they're showing up for them and what they think they're supposed to do versus what they really feel. And for some people, that's brand new. That's brand new information. Be like, well, I guess I'm kind of excited about this new treatment, or I'm really scared to die, and to say that out loud.
That's a taboo word to other people, including their doctors. They can't even talk to their doctors about their fear of dying. But when that topic comes up, we can go there with people. The other two words that I'm thinking as you're talking that come up with my clients a lot is, I'm just going to be positive. So that's a big one. And then the other word is, I don't like to feel vulnerable. It makes me feel vulnerable. So those are two things that we cover a lot, because those are really big issues. I need to be positive. Everybody tells me to be positive. Well, that's impossible. You can try, but good luck. So we allow people to get real. I don't want to feel positive today. Well, make it a choice. You don't want to be positive? Don't be positive. And so we give them permission to feel those feelings that feel heavy. It's okay. It's good to allow that.
Right. I mean, I think feelings, emotions are messengers, and so they have messages for us. But if we ignore them, suppress them, push them away, then we're not getting the messages, and that means we stay in the limbo for
Right.
a while. And
Yes.
in those messages are kind of answers, like clues, the breadcrumbs. I love that. Of so who wants to emerge here? Who is emerging? And the more we push those away, the less we get to step into it, the longer this limbo can stand. Yeah.
And society says, the ads on different sites or commercials is, just be positive. Everybody's supposed to be positive. They show happy faces when they show cancer. So we feel that we're supposed to be a certain way, but we don't really feel it. And then we feel something's wrong if I don't feel that. And we present ourselves to the world with a mask. I
Yeah.
remember doing that myself. I remember putting on my armor that I'm going to go out in the world and everybody's going to see how Judy does cancer the best. I wanted to do it really well. And so what happens was, because I'm putting on this happy mask, people didn't think I needed help, but I did. People didn't ask if I was okay, but I wanted somebody to ask. So nobody knew. So I felt isolated.
Mhm.
And it didn't help at all. And then I would cry to myself at night when nobody was around, because I was scared. But nobody got to know I was scared because I wouldn't be vulnerable. That's where that comes in. I don't want to feel vulnerable, so I don't want anybody asking if I'm okay. And I was stuck there for so long until I started training. And then I was like, I didn't do cancer great at all, did I?
Oh, I I
It
love
was,
that whole story. Like, I love that you framed it that way, because you're absolutely right. There, that toxic positivity, that just be positive, it's so out there. It's out there constantly. We hear it all the time, and we hear it from people who, they hear our stuff sometimes. They're like, yes, and I chose just be positive and I made it through. And we're kind of like, I'm not
mm,
going to boo anyone for choosing their positivity, but I am going to encourage them to say, you don't have to do that, because there's more here than just being positive. There is that fear, and that there is, when you decide to not just for lack of a better way of saying this, like shoving positivity all around you, you can invite people to be part of this experience with you and be real with them and have them support you. Because I think also what goes with that positivity is the like not asking for help at all,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And then you don't have, like you said, like you don't have any of that support, any of that care or that understanding that like we all know cancer is a hard experience. Like we all know it. So forcing positivity down anyone's throat is like it's isolating. It's extremely isolating.
So isolating.
I almost want to do like a whole episode on just those two words of positivity and vulnerability because you're absolutely right.
Absolutely.
They're so big.
Absolutely. So big. And I wish I had a coach back then. I didn't know to even have a coach back then because I think my whole experience would have been different if I had somebody who I could talk to. And it's different than a support group setting. I was invited to join support groups. I was terrified to join a support group. I didn't want to, I wasn't ready to hear other people's stories. And so I avoided them. But I didn't know that I could talk to one person about how I was really feeling who would just get me and not expect anything of me.
Yeah. I mean, it almost feels like it'd be impossible to be vulnerable when you're in a group setting for people who are already feeling like raw and already quite vulnerable, even without unveiling anything else about themselves, just in their beating. They feel very vulnerable
And
and
I
raw.
was afraid to hear other people's stories because I was scared. I was scared for myself. And if I heard somebody else was suffering in any way, I would be afraid, oh, that could happen to me too. And so I avoided other people. But with a coach, because it's really just focused on me, it's not focused on somebody else's experience. This is an hour or so of attention on me with somebody who was just listening and giving me a place where I can just say, oh, I'm scared. What if I never feel better? It's okay to say that to that person. I couldn't say it to my children because they were scared too, and I didn't want to scare them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a takeaway. Can I start with that?
Okay, you can
Yes.
go.
Because what I'm gathering from all of this and how this conversation has progressed is that vulnerability to allow somebody in, like a coach, to help me through this really challenging part of my life and to give me permission to be truly who I am without judgment, without expectation, without me having to take care of them, which is a big part of it. And so, in that, I've learned through all these years of teaching and coaching to be vulnerable. And that vulnerability has made me more connected and getting the connectedness that I've wanted so much during the coaching away from the aloneness of everything that you both have said. You know, the separation and the not hiding, but like suppressing. So that's my takeaway. I'm going to do my PESH. So my physical is, other than this cough, is 4.5, really 4.6, spirit 4.8, and hope 4.8. And my word is, I'm going to say it, Alicia, permission.
Surprise! My takeaway is yeah, like vulnerability too is at the key of this. And I think that like the very, very first step in going from like mourning the person that you were before cancer enter your life is having that recognition of like, I need to be vulnerable enough with myself to open new doors and vulnerable enough just to ask for help. Ideally with a cancer journey coach, but you can find your own method. But we really deeply believe, and we train our coaches to be prepared and creating this extremely safe space to open up and say the crazy things that you can't say to anyone else. Maybe things you don't feel are true, but you need to say out loud just to like let go of it, but also to say the things that are near and dear to your heart and figure out what will bring you joy now and who you're becoming, because you're not truly losing that person, you're just growing into a different one. So it does start with that little bit of vulnerability just to say, I need help, or I want to try to get some help. And it opens all of the doors for you, really, when you stop holding yourself back. My PESH. Physically, I am a 4.45. Emotionally, I'm a 4.5. Spirit is a 4.4. Hope is 4.4. And my word is vulnerability.
Yeah, that it seems to be the word of the day. All right, let's see. My takeaway, and I'm not going to say vulnerability, even though it definitely is part of it, but it's more of just kind of giving yourself permission, allowing yourself to feel and to be open and trusting those doors as they open, because you don't even know what's available if you keep those doors closed, but the whole world's on the other side of those doors. And yeah, and let's see, my PESH, physically, I'm still a 4.8, if that's what I said before. That hasn't changed. My emotions are, 5. Spiritually, I am a 4.8, and my hope is a 5. My word would be hope.
Oh, thank you so much for joining us today,
This
Judy.
is
It's been absolutely lovely having you. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what you do, what you're
yeah,
doing?
yeah. I started working with a breast surgeon in New Jersey, and she hired me to do cancer coaching with new patients from the day of their diagnosis for a full year. And so people are able to work with me for one entire year. So it starts with individual coaching, which eventually leads into small group coaching. And I just completed my first year. So my
Wow.
first group graduated, and we had a big celebration where they let go of what they wanted to let go so that they can make a promise to themselves of where they're going. And it was a beautiful ceremony, and everybody just loved it. That group bonded, and they're friends. They go out to dinner as couples, and it's really amazing. And I feel like their mother, and I watched them like go out into the world. It's a lot of fun. And I would love to offer a free coaching session with anybody who's listening to this podcast, or if they want to hand that over to a loved one who might want to sample coaching.
Yeah, and we'll have that link down below. So if you're interested in free coaching, we highly recommend working with Judy. And thank you for joining us today. Thank
Thank you
you,
for
all of
having
you.
me.
Thank you, Judy. And we'll be back next week with a new episode.
Thank you for having me.
We're so glad that you're here. Have a lovely rest of your day. And remember, you're more powerful than you realize.
True.